and an effort to try. Oh, I'm already over time. I'm consistent at least. Okay, number 18. This etude really is simply exemplifying your technique. And what I mean by that, a lot of etudes will show you technique. But you notice there's very, very little articulation in this etude. The slurring is really going to show what your fingers are doing. That's what I mean by the having very, trying to keep very facile and very clear. That's what I call about positive action. Is if I was always impressed by someone who can type really well. It's not me. But you walk by and you're... It's not... Right? And that's the same thing with this. When your time and your technique comes through. And that's what this etude's going to show all over the place. Listen to this. If you played... It's what I call silent practice. If you're having trouble with your technique, just sit there and listen to your horn for a minute. If it's going, then here's your problem. It should be real. You should be able to hear the rhythm in the mechanics of it. Sometimes we beat our heads against the wall going, why can't I get this? And it's like, I'm doing this, that, and the other. And you're thinking, I can't think of an analogy right now, but of a lot of different issues that it could be. I tell the student, let me hear you finger it. And a lot of times you will find the finger that is the problem. And then the solution, the reason why I'm holding up my right pinky is because this one's in B flat. And we're going to be using our E flat key. And that a lot of times is the one that people will skip off of. You'll hear it. See if I can do it on purpose. Listen really carefully. I'm purposely coming off of my E flat key too quickly. You can hear the rhythm kind of skip. You guys hear that, or are you just humoring me? Okay. And then I'll go back and do it correctly. And then all of a sudden, you're not confused with putting the horn in your mouth, creating sound, and going, my reed really kind of stinks today in San Antonio air, it's thin, yada, 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 yada. All these different types of things that are kind of confusing what you're listening and looking for. We extract it down and you go, holy cow, I'm coming off the E flat key too much. Sometimes all you have to do is know that, and all of a sudden you stretch it and it fixes it. Other times, just do simple finger exercises. Just like this. Until your finger feels like, oh my gosh. Okay. For me, in this piece, and if you look at my packet and the philosophy on fingerings, Bis B flat, for me, is the technically most proficient fingering. I don't want to argue with you about it, but the reasons about it is it's keeping the technique in one hand and in one finger. One of the most difficult things we do as a woodwind player is combine the left hand with the right hand. We have things we have to do on the right hand that have to combine with the left hand. Okay? And so that's one way that I've alleviated it. And we usually use B all the time, and we don't think anything about it. Right? If you get comfortable using the Bis, like I said, it's a hand position. You come down, you've got the I've got it covered already. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to add anything. It's just all of a sudden a B flat. Okay? Now, I know some of you are probably side men or side persons, individuals. I strongly encourage you to master both of your fingerings, and then you can go out and choose whichever one. But what I've done is actually case studies with students. I've had someone who was a real side guy, put him on a metronome, just going on the metronome, cranked him up. He blew out around 140. This is 30 years ago. About 144 or something like that. He never used Biss. We started on Biss, started around 120. He went up to 180 to 200 right in the moment. Pretty much proved the point to me. Okay, so maybe I'm talking to an audience who already has it in Biss and everything's fine. But I want this one. You'll notice, where'd my packet go? That I have pretty much Biss B flat throughout on this etude, with the exception of the fingering on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th system, where the B flat serves as a lower neighbor to the C. You'll also find, at least I think, in the technical rules, that that's one of my categorical exceptions. The B flat stands alone, it's not preceded or followed by a B natural, unless it's a lower neighbor to a C, and that does avoid having to flip. Yep. And then, of course, I've told you before that I do not recommend sliding the Biss key or rolling the Biss key between notes side by side. So when you get to the chromatic runs, that we use side B flat. This does work nicely with your long C sharp there in the second measure. And I think the only other thing that you may have questions about would be the front fingering for the F. Whether you use these a lot or not. You certainly can go to your palm keys if you want. It's just that whenever we're doing arpeggios that are in F, basically, which is what that one is, we generally use the high F alternate fingering. It's just the C with the top teardrop key. Or you may have a pearl key or whatever the top key is. Any questions so far? All right.